Hello, everybody. As you can tell by the title, I'm giving my thoughts on She-Hulk. I I have mixed feelings about it. I know a lot of you because being a fan of Angry Joe, for example, I watched his reviews on it and I've seen the pushback on his opinions. I I mean, I get it, but I do kind of agree with him. That's a bit too far. I have heavily mixed feelings. Like, I do see the potential, but there's a few things, especially in the first episode, where I was like, really? Really, though? Like, it's what, yeah, I'm really struggling trying to talk about it because, like, I don't walk into these things with a script. I'm just giving my opinions, and I mean, yeah, scripts probably help a little bit, but fuck it, and I don't do scripts typically. Well, 9 times out of 10, like once in a blue moon, I might do a script. I haven't been in a situation where I personally thought I needed one yet, but like, I don't understand why people are giving it a ton of crap because it's like, yes, there's a few things I disagree with. Like, I can kind of understand the quote unquote, like man sniping or whatever, because I've heard that term thrown around a little bit. Like it is a female led show with the female led character from a female perspective, and I believe a female director. Like, like that's fine. Just like, you get a lot of male led shows with the male lead that, or have male directors with the man perspective. Like, like that's fine. Like, I mean, I get it. Like, let's be honest. Not saying that this applies to all men, but let's be honest. There's a number of men that are, not exactly the best people. But then again, you could say the same thing to women. So, like, if, men sniping, women sniping, whatever. Like, it's all fair game, because there's a number of each gender that, like, you get the point. So I don't see why that's a problem. I mean, the only time I saw it as a significant problem was the one scene where, spoiler alert by the way, is the one scene right before she gets in the car and Hulk and She-Hulk fight, is when she talks about, the stuff she goes through, like at work and stuff, and then as she's visibly getting irritated, saying that she can control her anger better, but then she proceeds to turn into the She-Hulk. But then also, I mean, granted, she immediately transformed back, but like from a visual perspective, it kind of proves the opposite point, that she kind of can't. And you know, so like, I really hate how she handled talking to Bruce, and and because everything from like the 2008 movie in Incredible Hulk and stuff is still canon. It's like, wait a minute. And then like the next scene, when she, right before she gets in the car or whatever, she brings up like the decades worth of trauma and stuff from being the Hulk and all that. And it's like, again, I don't know what's happened in between Infinity War and Endgame. Like, obviously, all this stuff isn't exactly explained, so who knows if they've gotten a chance to talk in depth and catch up before the events of this show. Who knows? But me personally, like, again, my assumption, I could be wrong here, but how that was handled made it seem like she was well aware of everything he went through, including the suicide, and that he's trying to help her, like, adjust to like what can cause, you know what I mean? It's like, he's the only Hulk, if you unless you count Abomination, but Abomination, I think we can all agree, is kind of a special case. But and it's just like, to me that wasn't necessary. But then again, being arrogant and whatnot, you gotta have your character be a certain way to have an arc where they grow into a better person, character development, right? That's so I mean, on one hand I get it, but as a fan, it's like, did you really need to do it in that way? So that was a bit, you know so didn't really like that. But other than that one specific scene, purely because immediately afterwards she brings up his past trauma, so it kind of null and void. Like, you get the point. Aside from that one particular scene, the only other thing that bothered me was the origin story. And I get, because I watched Angry Joe and stuff, and I'm sure a lot of other shows do this, and I get it, like the appetizer thing that he brought up, which makes perfect sense. You want to get a little tease of what you're going to get, some shows that's harder to do. Like, you can't exactly do it, the very first episode be a teaser in The Flash. Like, you can't have him go straight into the Speed Force, like that's... Like there's some shows that you can do that better with, and I do see She-Hulk, because it's She-Hulk. She's a lawyer. She's a Hulk super strength. All you really need to tease is a courtroom scene, and then a fist fight, and then maybe a little bit of character drama, which they did with her and Hulk. So I mean, I get it. If that's what they were going for, like, that's cool. Like, that's fine. I get that. But it's one of those things where, like, if you're going for the teaser episode type scenario, like, there's still better ways you could have handled it. Like, oh, spaceship in the middle of the road for seemingly no reason, because that's probably going to be explained in the later episodes, because they tease that, obviously. Careen off the road, she gets, 2 drops of his blood into her open wound, and then she becomes a Hulk. It's this might be a bit of a bias, and I completely understand that, but then again, every opinion ever in the whole world, regardless of how small, has bias, that it's impossible to completely remove it. So, but I am acknowledging that there's a bit of bias here in this, but, I haven't necessarily read the comics, because I'm a gamer, I put all my times into games and stuff, and then, of course, the only real significant things I know about Marvel is mostly from the MCU, which is different than a lot of the older comics and stuff, and I acknowledge that. But the only thing I'm familiar with in regards to the She-Hulk is, I believe it was the 90s Incredible Hulk cartoon, and if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong because it's been years, I'm 23 right now, and I think I was in my adolescence, or maybe even younger, when I was watching the Incredible Hulk show, so please keep that in mind. But if I remember correctly, Dr. Doom kidnapped her or something like that, and in order to save her, he had to do the blood transfusion. Like, the drama and everything, right? The real drama of that scene, he was still struggling with his alter ego, he didn't know what would happen, he didn't want to risk, someone dying from his blood, the mental stuff, but then knowing she was gonna die and that familial bond, it's screw it, at least she'll be alive, and we can handle it together or something, and then she becomes a She-Hulk, and she has control, and she's a badass, where's the drama that we got in the origin, but why couldn't you have dragged things out into, multiple episodes and turning her into the She-Hulk, you don't need to jump right into it. But again, if you're going for the appetizer perspective, I completely understand that, but you still could have done it the other way around. I personally, and I even talked to my best friend about this, and he agreed that this would have been a much better way to do it, is if you flipped the roles, where Banner dragged her out, and she was severely cut. All the glass, she had a big shard of glass or something stabbed in her stomach or something, and because of where they were, there was no way to get her to a hospital, and he knew the only way to save her was his healing factor of becoming a Hulk, and he just slices his arm open, knowing he can remove that inhibitor and become the Hulk and heal immediately, so there's no real threat to him, especially considering he put a bullet in the back of his throat when he was at his worst, and the other guy spit it out, so a little cut will be fine, right? So, assuming he's not already banged up, and cut already like he was in this iteration, you could have had a very similar situation, but just super simplified to speed up getting into the She-Hulk, because it's this She-Hulk show. That's what we want. We want to see She-Hulk. I get that. That would have been a nice compromise, respecting the origin that I believe most people are familiar with, without while getting right into the meat, so to speak. Like that would have been a great, like, that way, even if you kind of, half-assed it, quote unquote, because again, you're that appetizer perspective, if that's what you're going for, which I can kind of see it with how it's played out, you could still be like, you see what we did there? Because it's the origin, just in a different context. So, like, that would have been so much better for people like me that have, like, a certain level of nostalgia with She-Hulk. So, like, that's my big issue, is it was like, really? Like, even though I understand his blood is very potent, for obvious reasons, and I do believe 2 drops, probably even 1 drop would be all you need, but even still, like, really? Really, though? And to play devil's advocate here, for lack of a better word to use for this scenario, because I know like there's going to be some people that might be like, well, this is a woman-led show, we're trying to build up women and blah 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 blah. Like, if you want to use that argument to address like why it needed to be the way it was, where Jennifer pulls him out, I don't agree with that, because at this point she's not the Hulk yet. She doesn't have the heel factor. Like, it's not like, a regular human with another regular human in the car, and like she's tougher, or you know what I mean. Like, you were still only like at this point in the show, because of the fourth wall break origin thing, we're only like maybe a minute into the show. Like, you still have, like, in the first episode of the first season, like, you have so much room to work with to still get that message across. Like, he's the fucking Hulk. He is going to recover faster. He is going to be stronger, at least enough to pull her out. Like, that does, like, because I know there's going to be at least one person, like, even if it's only one person, I have to address this. Like, that doesn't affect the message. Like, you could have changed that one scene and then had the rest of the show play the exact same, where she's beating him at boulder tosses and all that, and you still will get the sense that she can hold her own as the She-Hulk, that she is on his level, which I believe. I believe she can be on his level. Like, I don't see a problem with that. Like, it would make sense. Especially when compared to Smart Hulk specifically, and not Rage Hulk. Because the power level difference between the two, Smart Hulk and Rage Hulk, I think we can all agree is not the same. So, but yeah. So, it's just one of those things where I don't see... Like, I don't really see why we couldn't have gotten a much closer version of an origin that was a bit more respectful of, like, the 90s cartoon or something like that, a little bit more drama involved. But again, if they're going for the appetizer stuff, and they're, again, so those are the only 2 scenes that I properly disagree with. Everything else, for the most part, was fine. I didn't have an issue with the first episode other than those 2 scenes. The only issues that I had that weren't related to scenes was the CGI, because... And I know there's going to be someone out there that says this is sexist, but I don't agree with that. And if you do, okay, fine. Like here's my thing. And again, this might be a bit of a bias because of like the old cartoons and stuff, but here's my thing. She is a Hulk. And I find it ridiculous how, like, at least to me personally, how it looks like all she does in her transformation is get taller and maybe slightly more toned in her arms and her legs. And so far we haven't seen her chest. Like, it's not like we can tell if she has an 8-pack or not. But visually, she mostly gets taller, which to me is a bit bullshit. Like, I don't agree with that. Like, I mean, seriously, like, I'm not saying, because obviously, this is fiction, right? So, like, you don't need to have a woman become a hulking beast like you're, like, the Hulk with massive fucking muscles that are, or like Broly from fucking, or Kale from Dragon Ball Super, who is literally a female Broly. She's fucking massive. Like, You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you need to turn her into a literal female Hulk, because even the comics didn't do that, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of the same amount of muscle mass, if that makes sense. But still, look at Banner versus the Hulk. You know, like how Banner turns into this scrawny scientist that probably doesn't work out, and if he does, he only does it for health reasons. Like, he's not a fitness nut. I mean, he's a scientist, you know? So he goes from a relatively weak human being compared to most people. Well, the average person that probably works out more than he does, like, just visually, right? Or something. But then he turns into this massive Titan machine, you know, that can literally throw a boulder, even with Smart Hulk power level, into the fucking atmosphere and have it explode. You know? So it's like, you know what I mean? And it's like, so you get that, so you see it visually, like the change in power and strength, like you see it represented on their body, not just with their physical feats, like throwing the boulder itself or whatnot, you know? And I want that from She-Hulk, like, you know, like, and again, you know, that She-Hulk is obviously more of a role model for women, that you can be amazing, beautiful, smart, intelligent, as well as a badass, and I get that. Like, men have their role models, and so should women. That, like, I have no problem with making She-Hulk more elegant and beautiful while still maintaining a badass. But you could do that easily while respecting the She-Hulk musculature. Like, you know, like, why couldn't you focus on making the actress more beautiful, like when she's not in Hulk form? Like, Hulk form is about, like, you know, like, Hulk form should be closer to Bruce. Like, she should be very muscular. Like, her arms are even toner than they are. Like, you know, she gets super big. Like, every part of her body, like her legs, thighs, tits, whatever. And those of you that are going to call me sexist for bringing up tits, literally look at Bruce. Literally every single aspect of his body gets bigger, with maybe the exception of his head. Maybe he gets taller, his muscles get fucking massive. I don't think that's sexist. I think that's just called being fair to the whole entire body spectrum here of limbs and shit. You know, like, she should get massive arms. Like, maybe not as massive as Hulk, because you still want her to have a certain level of elegance, because, again, you still want a certain level of elegance while being a badass, because, again, female role model. You can be beautiful and amazing if you want to be, if you strive to be, and I think that's a powerful message, and I agree with that. But, again, there's a certain line here where she is still a Hulk. Like, she shouldn't have texture smooth skin. Like when Bruce and her are side by side, she looks incredibly smooth, and I'm like, women do tend to have smoother skin usually, I think, so I think that's a little bit fair. But it's like, that looks way too smooth in my opinion. That's a bit like, whoa, that don't look right. Like, where's the texture, man? You know, you want her to be like, her skin is supposed to be as strong as the Hulk's, where she could literally take a missile and be fine. And you mean to tell me it's going to be silky smooth? Bullshit. I'm sorry. It should be more rough as it is, and you can focus all your efforts into having the actress in normal form be very beautiful. Like, I don't know, load her with makeup or something, or I don't fucking know. But it's like, you know, there's different ways to do it while still having her be a badass Hulk, and then an elegant, amazing lawyer. Even, but then again, I know the show is, they're kind of already setting up in episode 2 that she's primarily going to be in She-Hulk form, and probably not a whole lot of her normal human form, which I wouldn't have a problem with that, honestly, because She-Hulk's badass. But still, it's like, you know, and then the transformation, like at the end of episode 1, where she transforms into the She-Hulk in her outfit. She takes off her shoes, she gets taller, and then, like, her sleeves rip off. Like, you know, it's like, if anything, like in the cartoons and stuff, like one scene that I saw on YouTube with the Fantastic Four, where she was debating on joining the Fantastic Four. She has her glasses and her lawyer outfit on, and then when she changes, she gets so big, she, just like the Hulk, rips all of her clothes off, and then she has her leotard or whatever under it, like her uniform, just like the Hulk has his fucking spandex shorts and whatnot, right? Like, you know, the Rage Hulk. It's like, that's what we want, but now you've set a precedent in the first episode that her transformation is so minimal where like she can wear her normal clothes and be perfectly fine. The next episode, episode 2, that exact same thing happens. She shows up for work at her new job. And asks, well, we're doing this new law division, which was in the trailers, right? So we need you to be She-Hulk. And she has to transform on the spot in her normal clothes. And then, it's like the fact that you set that precedent means that she basically doesn't really need a wardrobe, even though you went out of your way in the first episode, the first half hour when she's on the island or whatever with Hulk, to set up that you need a new wardrobe. It's like you're kind of sending, me personally, I'm getting mixed messages here, because it's like, okay, she gets taller where she rips her clothes, but not enough to where she can't function and fight. Like, it completely negates the point of the uniform now. Like again, this is more personal gripes from someone who's obviously seen She-Hulk, like, in like a little bit of the Fantastic Four stuff, and then of course the obvious 90s Incredible Hulk show. So it's in. Beyond that, I don't have a whole lot of familiarity with She-Hulk, I will admit. But it's still one of those things where it's so super disappointing. Like I was so, like, that was one of the things that excited me, was a live-action She-Hulk from the show. And I might have screwed myself over by having certain standards that I should have known probably weren't going to happen. That might be part of my problem here, but screw it. But, it's just... Like there's so like there's like these gripes that I say that I have, like there's easy ways, at least in my opinion they're easy, to rectify that and fix that and make this show way better. Like I'm not saying you need to change it. Like, I mean, the main thing I wish was better was like the transformation, having her be more buff and more fit, like an 8-pack or whatever, because she's a fucking Hulk, for Christ's sake, and then give that as justification for her to wear a certain... Like, it doesn't even have to be the leotard. Because especially since this is live action, this isn't digital bullshit. Like, like, it doesn't even have to be the leotard. Just something. Like, just a badass superhero outfit that looks awesome. You know what I mean? Like, come on now. Like, that would have been amazing, like, in the courtroom. Like, in the final courtroom scene in episode 1. But because she tore off all of her clothes, she either goes to the bathroom and has her friend get her a new set of clothes, or she just stays in She-Hulk form and finishes the case in the uniform. Because, obviously, she's not going to transform now back into her normal human form with the outfit. Well, I mean, I guess she could if it's spandex, as Hulk said. Like, it would fit, it would conform to her body, so... But you get the point. It's like the origin scene I wish could have been done better, but I'm fine with how it is. I just wish it could have been done better. The little scene with Bruce that I talked about earlier, the little argument stuff, I think could have been handled better, or if not removed. But scene-wise, that's all I have a problem with. And then everything else just comes down to CGI and just how they handle the transformation and just, like, the mixed messages on if she needs more outfits or not, because it's, like, not really. I mean, you kind of shown in every transformation that you have minimal damage to your clothes, so... But, yeah, episode 2 I didn't really have any problems with. It was just, like, the whole episode went by way faster than the first one, but to be fair, the first one was a premiere. Usually premieres are longer. So... But it's one of those things where it's like, well, it's episode 2, nothing really of substance happened other than, like, oh, now she works for a new law firm as the She-Hulk, and then they tease Abomination, which we saw in the trailers, and then she talks with him a little bit, and then the episode basically, like, nothing really happens. I think they're setting up something big for episode 3. So, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, like, those are my gripes with the show so far. And me personally, I think all these gripes are kind of like meh. Like, yes, they personally affect me, but I don't think it's enough to damn the show. Like, You know, like, just because I don't agree with these things or I wish things were done differently, perfect example. Like, I remember when not Teen Titans, the Titans show, and they cast a black person to play Starfire. I remember losing my mind. Like, I was like so against that, not because I'm racist, but because like her skin's orange, like from the DC animated shows, like from Teen Titans, the movies, like her skin's fucking orange, and to be honest, I feel like it's easier to paint a white person orange than a black person orange. Like I could be wrong. I'm not a movie guy. I don't know what goes into the effects. You know, maybe that's something easily doable. But then they didn't even do that. So it's not like, oh, you know what, that's fine. You know, just as long as she's orange, whatever. But no, I saw the trailers and she stays her color, and it's like. And then, of course, the other Tamarans, like Blackfire, I think, showed up at one point, and she's also black. And I'm kind of like, and I'm not trying to be racist, but it's like for the comics, from Teen Titans to the animated shows, you know, you have a certain standard, and when your standard's fucked with, you're like, are you shitting me? And that decision to this day still kind of irritates me, that they decided instead of making them orange, their entire Tamaranian species in that show was basically black. But that's a personal gripe because of comic book standards. I remember walking in thinking this show is gonna be shit. I have a feeling it's gonna be shit because Starfire is not right. Raven was a bit skeptical. Robin looked alright. Like, I walked in super skeptical, like thinking, what the fuck? Like, oh god. And then I remember, you know, to get prepared, just to, you know, because I didn't want to have to watch one episode a week or whatever. I remember waiting until the whole first season came out. I went to my buddy's house, we got some Domino's pizza, and we binge watched the whole first season in one night. And by the end, I was like, I love all of it. The whole show was amazing. I loved Raven. I loved how they took the direction. I didn't care that Starfire was black anymore. Because just the actress herself handled this new iteration in a way that I thought was fascinating and I thought was really cool, and you know, and it made up for all these little comic book gripe standards that, you know, like, you know, and you know what I mean, and that's kind of my thing. I'm rambling on a little bit here. We're at like 30 minutes. It feels like only 5. Yeah, we're almost at 30 minutes, but that's just an example of how, like, you can walk in with all these negative things. The first episode, because it wasn't like I immediately fell in love with the show. Like, I had to give it the benefit of the doubt, which is why I watched the whole season straight through. You know, so I had everything in conscious mind, right? And it was just one of those things where, of course, the first episode, you're right in that negative mindset, right? And then as you went through, you saw really cool things, cool concepts, and then by the end, you're completely won over. Like, it's a journey. You gotta let yourself be willing to be won over. I'm not, like, that doesn't mean you will get won over, but you have to be willing to just give it a chance. And if you're willing to give it a chance, it's easier to be won over instead of you just being all negative the whole time and nitpicking every little bad detail, because honestly, nothing's perfect. Like, there's gonna be a few missteps here or there in anything. I'm sure your most favorite TV shows or games, there's at least one or two things you can nitpick where you'd be like, why? Why, though? You know what I mean? So, like, episode 2 had nothing going on at all. I think, honestly, episode 2 felt like it was setting up the real story for episode 3. Because, like, nothing of real substance happened other than she got fired, got a new job, talks to Abomination for a bit. That's really it. That's really the only main things that really happened. So, episode 1 is where, you know, episode 1 was, again, alright. But yeah, I think I'm going to end the video there. Like I said, my piece and what I disagree with. I mean, overall, I'm into the show. I just wish that these things could have been done different. But overall, I'm into it. You know, I learned my lesson from walking into Titans very negatively and then coming out the other side fucking hyped. Watch Season 2. Season 2 is even better. Still have yet to watch Season 3. I need to go watch Season 3. But But yeah, so I've learned my lesson from that, so I'm more than willing after that experience to give the benefit of the doubt and be like, okay, you want to screw up these things that I personally think are borderline, comic book character sins, screwing up things like the transformation and stuff. Like again, we're only on the second episode of the first season, and depending on how many seasons they're going for, and depending on how many episodes per season they're going for, like, we got a ton of time for them to really win us over despite these flaws for whatever reason that they're going for, right? So anyway, with that being said, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to leave your comments down below. Just don't do what Angry Joe did. Well, not don't do what Angry Joe's fans did. I mean, where they just are like, oh, you're being way too lenient, or you need to give it a 0 out of 10, blah blah blah. Like, I don't think it's that bad. Like honestly, at the current moment, if I had to give a rating, I would probably give it like maybe a 6. Like it's not bad. Like, I think it's good despite all of its flaws, and it clearly has potential. And I need to give it the benefit of the doubt. So I'm game for more. I'm excited for more. I hope the next episode is literally She-Hulk beating the shit out of Abomination. I really do. I hope that. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, that'd be awesome. But anyway, with all that being said, I think I spent a bit too much time on this. I'll see you guys on the next, whatever comes next after this. Take care, everybody.